Hi everyone, I've called this the predicted paper for the foundation paper for Edexcel because this is the mock exam that Edexcel released. So this is actually released by them, so I think this is going to be the best guess at what the style of the exam will be. Obviously the questions will have different numbers, they'll have different topics in there, but this is I think the best guess at what we can think the exam might look like. Anyway, let's go through this. This is, like I said, the first paper on the foundation paper, and I shall do all the other ones as well. So the first one, write these numbers in order of size, start with the smallest number. So it's a nice and easy question. In terms of start with the smallest number, it might be sort of easier to think about it. Start with the coldest temperature, which obviously is -4. So -4, -2, 0, 1, and 4. And that's our first mark. The key thing to this paper, as opposed to previous papers, is that you've got to really read the questions carefully. So the next one, here are 4 cards, and there is a number on each card. Write down the largest 4-digit number that can be made using each card only once. So the largest 4-digit number, the most important thing when you have a 4-digit number is to make the thousands column the biggest. So that's going to be 9. Then the next one is going to be 8, and 7, and 4. Again, like I say, it's really important to read the question carefully. So write down the smallest, what you might do is write down the smallest 4-digit and then just go ahead and do it. However, it says it has to be an even number. So therefore, you've got to make sure you've got an odd number at the end. So an even number at the end. And the only even number here is a 4. So therefore, the 4 has got to go on the end to make it even. So you've got to now make the smallest number using the remaining digits. So that's going to be 7,894. So again, even on question 2, it's easy to drop that mark if you haven't spotted that. It's got to be an even number. The smallest 4-digit number you can make is 4789. That's not an even number. To be an even number, you've got to have a 0, 2, 4, or 6, or 8 on the end. Okay, next one, write 7 out of 20 as a percentage. Now, there are several ways of doing this. The easiest way, though, to make it a percentage literally means percent or per 100. So 7 out of 20, we've got to make that something out of 100. So to get from 20 to 100, we need to multiply by something. So if you do the 20 times table, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, we've times that by 5. If you times the top by 5, 7 5s are 35. So that's 35 out of 100, which is 35%. Okay, the next question, 20% of £54. Now it's worth 2 marks, so one of the marks is going to be for workings. However, it's easy to get the workings wrong. What you can do to make sure that you get the mark for the workings is 20% as a decimal is 0.2 or 0.20, some people say. And if you do 0.2 or 0.20 times by 54, that's going to be your working mark. You might not be able to do it that way, but at least if you write that down, that's going to be 1 mark for the working. The way you usually do it, though, is work out 10% first of all. So 10% of £54 is going to be, just shift the decimal point over by 1. So that's going to be 5.4. However, £5.4 doesn't really make any sense. So write it as £5.40. Then 20% equals, you need to double that. So that's going to be £10.80. So £10.80 is what you need to do for the 2 marks there. Okay, next question. So this is just coordinates, which we've been doing for some time. So you've got to mark the point -2, -3. So the first one is across, the second one is up and down. So -2 across means you're going to go across by -2 and then down by 3. So there you go. So -2, -3 is right there. Now what we've got to do now is write down the midpoint of AB. So if we draw the line AB, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across. So half of 6 is going to be 3. So if we go 3 across from either direction, so 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3. That leaves us right there. Or if we count from the other way, 1, 2, 3. It still leads us to the same point. And then we've got to write down what this coordinate here is. And this coordinate is 1 or minus 1 across and then 2 up. So that's going to be minus 1, 2. Okay, next question. Rose has £15 to spend on pens and pencils. She has to buy the same number of pens and pencils. What is the greatest number of pens she can buy? So if we add a pen and a pencil together, 32p plus 8p equals 40p. So that 40p, that's every time she buys 1 pen and 1 pencil. And she's got £15, so you need to do £15 or 1,500 pence divided by 40 pence. And you can do it that way, or a way that's probably slightly easier is, you know that 40p equals 1 pen. So 10 pence would equal 400p, or £4. So 20 pence would be £8. So 30 pence would be £12. And then if we do another £4, it's going to take us up to £16, so that's not going to work. So if £4 is 10 pence, then 5 pence would equal £2. So therefore £14 equals 35 pence. So then £14.40 would be another pence, that's 36 pence. And then add another pen, £14.80 equals 37 pence. And of course 37 pencils as well. So there you go, for £15 you can buy 37 pens and 37 pencils. So it's going to be 37 as the answer. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question now. So question 7, we're running through them. Question 7, we've got to complete a tally chart. So 28 goes in there, 30 goes in here, 40 is in this one, 37 in there, 35 in there, 31 is there, 29, 39, 34, 33, 35, 28, 40, 29, 27 makes it a gate, and 35 makes this one. So it's going to be 5, 2, 5, 1, and 3. So if I write those over here, just in case I can't see them in a second, 5, 2, 5, 1, and 3. So we've got to put those in a suitable diagram. So it makes sense to put these in a bar chart. So 27 to 29, 30 to 32, 33 to 35, 36 to 38, and 39 to 41. So we need to have our frequency going up the side. That's got to go up to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we label it frequency. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. And then if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one here is 27 to 29. This one here is 30 to 32, 33 to 35, 36 to 38, and 39 to 41. And then we do a bar up to there. We do bar up to the 2, 33, 35 goes up to the 5. As you do this with a ruler. 36 to 38 is a 1. And 39 to 41 goes up to the 3. We've also got to label the x-axis. So the x-axis here is age. That's going to be age, and that's in years. And that should be fine. Sometimes you don't have gaps between the bars, but that's if it's continuous data. And with age, it's kind of continuous, but you're either 28 or 29. They haven't got 28.5 here, so I would tend to leave gaps between the bars. Okay, so next question, we've got to find the median height. Now, we've got a stem leaf diagram here, so what we do to find the median is we get rid of the smallest and the biggest, smallest and the biggest, and we keep going. So smallest and the biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, and we're left with 5 in the middle. Now, if you just write 5, you're not going to get the mark because that doesn't mean 5. It's in this column here, so it's going to be 165. Now, the girls in the class have a median height of 162, so this is the boys in the class, and the girls in the class have a median height of 162, and we've got to compare the distribution. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare the range, and we're going to compare the median. So we'd say that the boys have a higher median. So therefore, I mean, you can use the 3 dots as a triangle. The boys are taller on average. That's what having the high median means, sorry. And then the girls have a range of 45, so you've got to work out what the boys' range is. Now the boys' range is going to be 181, take away 140, which equals 41. So the girls have a larger range. Therefore, the data is more spread out. That's all you need to do on that question. Okay, so now we've got 3 formulae. And we've got to work out the cost of a taxi journey in X miles. Okay, so we know that the journey is 30 miles, so X is 30. So reliable taxis, the cost equals 1.5 times by 30. So 1.5 times 30, we're going to do 15 times 30. And then we're going to put in 1 decimal place. So 0 times 5 and 0 times 1 is going to be 0, 0. Then we've got the 3, so that's going to be, start off with a 0 because it's the 30. So 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 1 is 4, so 450. So that equals 450, but we need to have 1 decimal place, so we put in 1 decimal point just there. That's going to be 45.0, so that's going to be £45. Okay, so that's the cost for reliable taxis. Then we've got speedy taxis. So that's going to be 1.1 times 30, and then plus 11.5. So 1.1 times by 30. So if we do 11 times 30, so again that's going to be 0 times 1, 0 times 1, so that's going to be 0, 0. Then because it's a 30, it's not a 3, we start off with a 0. So 3 ones are 1, 3 ones are 3, 3 ones are 3. So that's going to equal 330. But again, we need to have 1 decimal place, so decimal point goes there. Plus 11.5. So we do 33 plus 11.5. That's going to be 0.544. Now in terms of money, 44.5 means £44.50. So that equals £44.50. so far the speedy taxis are the best. And now we're going to do city taxis. That's going to be 1.25 times 30 plus 8. So 1.25 times 30. That's going to be 125 times 30. But this time I'm going to need to have two decimal places. So 0 times 5, 0 times 2, 0 times 1 is going to be 0, 0, 0. Then again we've got 30, so we start off with a 0. Then we do 3 times 5, which is 15. 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 1 is 3. That's going to equal 3750. Now we've got two decimal places, so we need to put two decimal places in. It's going to be £37.50 plus 8. So when we plus 8, make sure it's going to be plus £8. So that's going to be 0, 5. And that's going to be 15. Okay, the one, £45.50. So therefore, Speedy Tax, which is the cheapest company, make sure you go back and you answer your question. So Speedy is the cheapest. Even if you mess up some of the multiplication, as long as you're doing 1.25 times 30, then you're going to add in the 8. You're using the method that you've got to use, so you're going to be getting method marks for that. Again, doing all of that is 3 marks, so it's worthwhile making sure that you know how to multiply with decimals. Okay, next question, question 10. So we're going to translate shape A by 6 minus 5. And we're going to call that B. Then we're going to translate B by minus 8, 8. And we're going to call that C. And then we're going to write down the column vector to get from A to C. So 6 minus 5 means that we're going to pick this shape up, pick A up, and we're going to move it 6 to the right and then 5 down. So 6 minus 5 means 6 to the right and then 5 down. So what we do is we just choose any point. So let's choose a bottom point, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and that's there. If you're not sure how to draw the shape, then what you do afterwards is choose another coordinate. So let's choose this one here. Then you count. Don't count the point that it's already on as 1. So this one here is 1. Then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to be there. Then we can see that the shape just goes across by 1, down by 1, and then joins up to the original point. So that is shape B. And that's going to be worth 1 mark. Or at least 1 mark. Yeah. Now what we're going to do is we're going to translate shape B by this vector. So minus 8, 8 means that we're going to move it, because the top one is across, and this one is up and down. So the fact that it's minus 8 means that we move 8 to the left, and then we're going to move 8 up. And again, just choose any point here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's there. Then we choose this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which is there. Again, if you wanted to do that with all the points, that's absolutely fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's there. And we'll call that C. And then what we've got to do is we've got to write down the column vector which takes A, which is our first one here, onto C. So to go from this point here to this point here, I go 2 to the left and then 1, 2, 3 up. So that's minus 2 and then 3. So the answer to part C is that there. Alternatively, if we have a look, our two vectors were 6 minus 5 and then minus 8, 8. So 6 take away 8 is going to equal minus 2. Minus 5 plus 8 is going to be 3, which gives us the self-same answer than when we do it this way. There's two ways of doing that. Okay, there will always be a page on algebra. So you can be guaranteed that something like this will definitely come up. So what we've got here is x plus x plus x, and then plus y plus y. So x plus x plus x is 3x. Y plus y is 2y, and we're adding them together, so it's 3x plus 2y. A common mistake here is to write down x cubed plus y squared. That's not true. It's x times x times x. That gives you x cubed. X plus x plus x gives you 3x. So make sure you know the difference. This is wrong. Next one. We've got 3p, take away p. So 3p, then take away 1p, you're going to be left with 2p. Then we've got 7q, take away 4q, and that's a positive 3q. So it's 2p plus 3q. Next, we've got to expand. Now, expand means that we're going to multiply everything from the outside onto the inside. So 6 times 2m is 12m. 6 times minus 3 is minus 18. And that's it. Just worth the 1 mark. Next one, we've got to solve 7f plus 6 equals 27. Now, these can be okay if you've done a bunch of them. So the first thing that we do every time is whatever the plus or minus bit on the end is, we do that, but the opposite to the other side. So if it says plus 6, it means that we've got to take away 6 from the other side. So 7f equals 21. Now if 7f is 21, we've then got to work out what 1f is. So what we do is, if it's 7 times by f, we've got to do the opposite of times by 7, so we divide by 7. And 21 divided by 7, 7, 14, 21 is 3. So f equals 3. And that's for 2 marks on that question. Okay, now I'd never seen a question like this before. It's kind of like a tree diagram question in the previous exams, but this one is slightly different, so I've got a feeling they're going to have this question in the exam. Again, it could be wrong, but it's just a best guess. So 60 people each took a driving test one day. 21 of these people were women, so we put in 21 women there. So therefore, if 21 of them were women, therefore the men are going to be the other lot that make it up to 60. So 60 take away 21 leaves us with 39, and that's going to give us 1 mark. It tells that 18 of the 16 people failed their test, so in total these two things have to add up to 18. And we're told that 27 of the men passed the test, so 27 men passed the test. And if there's 39 men in total and 27 passed, therefore 12 failed. And we know in total, going back to this, that 18 people failed in total. So if 12 men failed, 6 women failed. And so now we know that there are 21 women that took the test, 6 failed, so therefore 15 must have passed. Okay, so now the next one is a probability question. It says one of the men is chosen at random. So if one of the men is chosen at random, then it's a probability. There's going to be 39 men in total, so the probability is going to be out of 39. And work out the probability that this man failed the test, where 12 failed the test, so it's going to be 12 out of 39. It doesn't say to simplify the probability, but if it does say write it in its simplest terms, we can divide both the top and the bottom here by 3, so that would be 4 out of 13. But it doesn't say at any point to do that, so if you wanted to, you could do that, or if you just want to revise how to cancel fractions down, you can use it like that. Okay, next question. Now this question says work out an estimate for the total area of the shape. And the key thing here is the thing estimate. So as soon as you see the word estimate, it means that you need to round everything. So 2.05, the nearest centimetre, that's going to be 2. 2.15 to the nearest centimetre is going to be 2. 7.37 to the nearest centimetre is going to be 7. 5.02 to the nearest centimetre is going to be 5. And then we've got two rectangles or squares, so the area of this one, base times height, is 2 times 2, so that's going to be 4 centimetres squared. 7 times 5 is going to be 35 centimetres squared. And then the total of those two is going to be 39 centimetres squared. But the key thing for this is spotting the word estimate. So an estimate means every single time you round it. So is your answer to A an overestimate or an underestimate? Well, we said that the answer is 39 centimetres squared, but it is actually 2.05, and we rounded it down to 2. We rounded this one down to 2. We rounded this one down, and we rounded this one down. So all the actual numbers, we've taken lower numbers. So therefore, this must be an underestimate. So it's an start writing that properly. It's an underestimate, as we've rounded every number down. Okay, question 14. A cafe sells cakes and scones. On Tuesday, the ratio of the number of cakes sold to the number of scones was 5 to 2. On Tuesday, the cafe sold 80 scones. How many cakes were sold on Tuesday? Now, this question here tends to cause people difficulties just because usually people see a ratio question and then they think they have to split 80 into the ratio 5 to 2. But again, this is another case of making sure that you read the question. So cakes to scones is in the ratio 5 to 2. That tells us that 80 scones were sold. So if you have a look at the ratio, the number of parts that are scones are 2. So therefore, 2 parts equals 80 scones. Just going through that again. You write down the ratio of cakes to scones, which is 5 to 2. But then you're told that the scones, which in this case of the ratio is 2 parts, is 80. So if 2 parts is 80 scones, 1 part is going to be 40. Now what we have to do is work out the number of cakes, and the number of cakes is 5 parts. If 1 part is 40, 5 parts, it's going to be 5 lots of that. So 5 lots of 40 equals 200. So we're going to have 200 cakes that are sold. Okay, so let's go and have a look at question 15. So again, not the easiest of questions here. We've got to find the size of the smallest angle of the kite, which we're assuming is going to be this one here. Now, the one thing that we need to know about the angles in a kite is that this angle is going to be the same as this angle. So we're going to get our first mark for saying that 5x minus 147 is the same as 2x. And then what we've got is we've got ourselves an algebraic equation which we need to solve. So if we get rid of this minus 147 from this side and bring it over to this side, that's going to be 5x equals 2x plus 147. I'm going to get rid of the 2x's on this side, get rid of 2x's on this side, leaving us with 3x equals 147. Then we've got to find out what 1x is. Now, if you can see that it's 49, fantastic. If you can't see that it's 49, what we've got to be able to do is 147 divided by 3. So don't be afraid to use this here. So 3's into 1 don't go, so we carry that 1 over to make 14. 3's into 14, 3, 6, 9, 12 goes in there 4 times. And 4 3's are 12, so there's 2 left over from 14. 3's into 27 go 9 times, so x equals 49. So it means that this angle here is 2x, so that's going to be 98 degrees. And because this one here is going to be the same, that's also going to be 98 degrees. Of course, what you could do is 5 lots of 49 and take away 147. Either way, you still get 98 degrees. Now, what we've got is a 4-sided shape. So we've got a 4-sided shape, and we know that 4-sided shapes, or we should know that 4-sided shapes add up to 360 degrees. So we've got 116 degrees, we've got 98 degrees, we've got 98 degrees. If we add those together, 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 8 is 22. So 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 9 is 19, plus 2 is 21. 1 plus 2 is 3, so that's going to be 312. And if we take 312 from 360, we get 48 degrees. So if this is 48 degrees, 98, 98, 116, this one here is the smallest. So the smallest angle is 48 degrees. Okay, so next question. Now this, I think, is really quite a hard question, turning millimeters cubed into centimeters cubed. The one thing that you need to know is that 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. But 1 centimeter cubed doesn't equal 10 millimeters cubed. That doesn't work. So what I tend to do to change millimeters cubed into centimeters cubed is I do myself a 3D cube. And I'm going to say that the volume is 4,500 millimeters cubed. So the way I do that is I can do 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter by 4,500 millimeters. And in doing so, 1 times 1 times 4,500 equals 4,500 millimeters cubed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these into centimeters. So 1 millimeter equals 0.1 centimeters. 1 millimeter equals 0.1 centimeters. And 4,500 millimeters, to go from millimeters into centimeters, I divide by 10. So that's going to be 450 centimeters. So to work out the volume of this one, I'm going to do 0.1 times by 0.1 times by 450. Now, 1 times 1 times 450 equals 450. But we've got 2 decimal places here, so we've got to have 2 decimal places. So it's going to be 4.5 centimeters cubed. So that's the way to do that one. So you write it, because it's millimeters cubed and centimeters cubed, we do a 3D box. And we're going to work out 3 numbers that multiply together to make 4,500. So once you've done that, you convert each of these units into the other unit, so centimeters, centimeters, and centimeters, and work out the volume using the centimeters. Okay, next, we've got to be able to subtract fractions, but when they're mixed numbers. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to turn 2 3/5 into a top-heavy fraction. Now, the fraction that we're dealing with is fifths. So if we have a pizza, we've got 2 whole pizzas, each with 5 slices, and then we've got another pizza just with 3 slices. So if we do that, we've got 5 slices, 10 slices, and then another 3, so that's going to be 13 slices. So I can turn 2 3/5 into 13 fifths. Then we're going to take away 1 5/6. So now our pizza's got 6 slices. So we've got 1 whole pizza with 6 slices. Then we've got another pizza with only 5 slices. So that's going to be 6 slices plus another 5 slices. That's going to be 11 slices. That's going to be 11 sixths. So once you're happy enough turning mixed numbers into top-heavy fractions, what you've got to do is you've got to be able to subtract them. But we can't subtract them at the moment because they don't have a common denominator. So what we do is we start off, when we add or subtract fractions, we always start off with the bottom right. And we do 6 times 13, 6 times 5. 6 times 13 is 78. Ooh. Let's try writing that properly. 78. 6 times 5 is going to be 30. Then we do the same with the bottom left. So we do 5 times 11, 5 times 6. So 5 times 11 equals 55. 5 times 6 is 30. Then we've got 78 over 30, take away 55 over 30, which is 23 over 30. And that's our final answer. The key thing with that is, first of all, we've got to turn them into top-heavy fractions when they're mixed numbers. Then we've got to do makes it end up looking like a TP. So we start with bottom left and we do 6 times 13, 6 times 5. Then we do 5 times 11, 5 times 6. You can see it looks like a wigwam TP. And then we get these two numbers here, and then we just subtract the top. The bottom needs to stay the same. Okay, next question. So phone calls cost y pounds for x minutes. The graph gives a value of y for x of 0 to 5. Give an interpretation of the intercept of the graph on the y-axis. So now, interpretation means what does it mean? So what does the fact that the intercept here is 0.5 mean? So it means that when the x value is 0, the y value is 0.5. So when there's no minutes, the cost of the phone call is £0 or 0.5 pounds. So it means that there is a 50p charge just for making the call. Give an interpretation of the gradient of the graph. Now gradient, the way we interpret gradient is for every one we go over on the x-axis, we go up by that. So the fact that here the gradient goes up by 1.5, so it goes up from 2 up to 3.5. Every one we go over on x, so that's every extra minute. So for every minute, the y-axis, which is the cost, goes up by 1.5. Now what does that 1.5 mean? That's in terms of pounds, so it's going to be £1.50. So that's what it means. That's what the gradient means. For every one you go over on the x-axis, you go up on the y-axis by that. And because it says interpret, it means that you've got to actually say what that means in real life. So the x-axis is minutes, so for every 1 minute we go up by 1.5 on this, which is pounds. Find the equation of the straight line in the form y equals mx plus c. Now, even though this is 3 marks, we've already done most of the work. So when y equals mx plus c, this value of m is the gradient. This value of c is the y-intercept. So all we do is we write down y equals, the gradient was 1.5, so it's going to be 1.5x. And c is the intercept, and that went through at 0.5. So that's it. When it says find the equation of the line, we've got to write y equals something x plus something. And this something here, that's going to be the gradient. This something here is where it goes through the y-axis. So as soon as it says find the equation of the straight line, what you do, y equals something x plus something. Next question. Find out the area of A, B, C, D, E. So we've got to work out the area of this shape. So what we do is we're going to chop this shape like that. And then we're going to do that. So this here is 8 by 4. So 8 by 4 is 32 centimeters squared. And to work out the area of a triangle, we know that this one here is 4 and this one here is 4. We don't know what the height is. I'm guessing this question is worth a fair few marks. This question is worth 5 marks. So we're going to get 1 mark for saying this bit here is 32 centimeters, or 32 centimeters squared. But working out, let's just take this triangle here first of all. What we've got is a 4 centimeter and we've got a 5 centimeter thing here. Now, to work out a triangle, we need to do base, which is 4, times by the height, which we don't know. It could be that you've done enough of these questions in the past that you know that this triangle, you know what this value is here. However, if you've got a right-angled triangle and you don't know one of the sides, we've got to do Pythagoras. Now, Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, c is always the longest side, so c is going to be this side. A and b are going to be these sides. So a squared we don't know, so that's going to remain as a squared. B squared is going to be 4 squared, so that's going to be 16. c squared, c is 5, so c squared is going to be 25. Now if we're looking for the shorter side, we've got to take them away. So a squared equals 9, so a equals 3. So we know that the height is now 3. So once we've got the height, the rest of it is relatively straightforward. So we do base times height divided by 2. So 3 times 4 divided by 2, which is 6 centimetres squared, which is going to be the same as this one, 6 centimetres squared. So now we've got our shape, we've got 32 centimetres squared, we've got 6 centimetres squared, we've got 6 centimetres squared. So 32 plus 6 is going to be 44 centimetres squared. Now, if I were you, I would go back and I'd watch that question a couple of times, because it's not straightforward. Breaking a shape down into different shapes, that's relatively okay, but knowing that the triangle is base times height, and seeing that we've only got 2 of the sides, we haven't got the height, that's going to make the question trickier. Okay, next question. On Monday, Tarek travelled by train from Manchester to London. Tarek's train left at 8:35. It got to London at 11:05. The train travelled at an average speed of 110 miles per hour. On Wednesday, Jill travelled by train from Manchester to London. Notice how wordy this question is. So what I'd be tempted to do is just stop and just try and work stuff out from this bit here. So what we can see is it's taken, if you take 1 hour, that's going to be 9:35. Take another hour, take another 30 minutes, that's going to be, take another hour, that's going to be 10:35. Then another half an hour is going to be 11:05. So it's taken 2.5 hours. And we know that the train travelled at an average of 110 miles per hour, which means that 1 hour the train travelled 110 miles. So in 2 hours, that's going to be 220 miles. In half an hour, that's going to be 55 miles. So in 2.5 hours, which is how long the journey was, that's going to be 275 miles. Jill's train also left at 8:35 on Wednesday, but it was diverted. The train had to travel an extra 37 miles. The train got there at 11:35. Work out the difference between the average speed of Tarek's train and the average speed of Jill's train. Okay, so we now know from doing our bits and pieces from the first part that it's travelled 275 miles. However, there's a diversion on Jill's train that had to travel an extra 37 miles. So it's going to be 275 plus 37. If we add those together, that's going to be 2, carry the 1, that's going to be 11. It's going to be 312 miles. And train got there at 11:35. So between 8:35 and 11:35, that is 3 hours. So if we write down our information, and the whole thing with distance, speed and time questions, they're less tricky if you just write down the information that you know. So we know that the train travelled 312 miles, and that took 3 hours. So if it took 3 hours to travel 312 miles, to find out how far it went in 1 hour, we just divide it by 3. So 312 divided by 3. 3's into 3 go once. 3's into 1 don't go, so we carry the 1 over. 3's into 12 go 4 times. So 104 miles in 1 hour. So if you travel 104 miles in 1 hour, the average speed is 104 miles per hour. Now the other train, the Tarek's train, travelled 110 miles per hour. So the difference between these two is 6 miles per hour. And that's what you need to do to get all 4 marks for that one. But again, it's not a case, no one's expecting you to get all the questions absolutely spot on. All you've got to do is try and pick up some marks. So if you can pick up some marks by doing the first part, that's good enough. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. Okay, the diagram shows a rectangular wall. Frank is going to cover the wall in rectangular tiles. Each tile is 60 centimeters by 30 centimeters. 3/5 of the tiles will be white, some of the tiles will be green, the rest of the tiles will be blue. The ratio of the number of green tiles to the number of blue tiles will be 1 to 3. Assuming there are no gaps between the tiles, how many tiles of each colour will Frank need? Now, there's loads and loads of words there, so let's just break it down. So if you've got 6 centimeters by 30 centimeters, then each tile will be 60 times by 30, which will equal 6 times 3 is 18 with 2 zeros on, centimeters squared. Now the area of this wall is 600 centimeters by 180 centimeters. So if we do 180 times by 600, 18 times by 6, 6 eighths are 48, 6 ones are 6 plus 4 is 10, so that's going to be 108. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 zeros. So the wall is going to be 108,000 centimeters squared. Again, see how many times you need to use multiplication, so you need to be really hot on being able to multiply. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to see how many tiles we need, because each tile is 1,800 centimeters squared, and we've got to do 108,000 centimeters squared. So the way we work out how many tiles it's going to be is going to be 108,000 divided by 1,800. Now the reason that I've written it as a fraction is because when you divide, to make the dividing easier, what we can do is just knock off a couple of zeros there, knock off a couple of zeros there. So we're going to do, in fact, to make it even easier, both these are even numbers, so divide both of them by 2. That's going to be 540 over 9. I can see that both these are divisible by 3. So I can do 540 divided by 3 is 180. 180 divided by 3 is 60. So therefore, I'm going to need 60 tiles. And again, as long as you know that you have to do this divided by this, that's bound to get you another mark. Now we know that there's going to be 60 tiles and 3/5 of them will be white. So the way we work out a fifth of something is we divide it by 5. So 60 divided by 5 equals 12. So 1/5 equals 12 tiles. So 3/5 equals 36 tiles. So that's going to be 36 white tiles. And so now we've got 24 tiles left. And they're going to be split up into green and blue in the ratio 1 to 3. So if we're going to split 24 into the ratio 1 to 3, 1 part and 3 parts is going to be 4 parts. So we're going to have 4 parts equals 24 tiles. So 1 part equals 6 tiles. So remember the 1, that's going to be the green. So 1 part is 6 tiles, and 3 parts, it's going to, obviously 1 part is 6 tiles, 3 parts is going to be 18 tiles. So we've got 6 tiles, 6 green tiles, and then, yeah, so if we then write it out, we've got white, green, and blue. And we said that 36 are going to be white tiles. Green tiles was 1 part, so that's going to be 6 tiles. Blue was 3 parts, and that's going to be 18 tiles. So there we go, that's how many of each tile we're going to need. Frank is told that he should leave gaps between the tiles. If Frank leaves gaps between the tiles, how could this affect the number of tiles he needs? Well, it means that if there's gaps, there's going to be less space that we need to fill with tiles. So maybe we're going to need less tiles. So that's all we need to say. Less tiles needed as less space will need covering. Okay, then we've got question 22. Just zoom it out a little bit so we can see the whole question. Okay, on Monday, Ria delivered a parcel to a hospital. The travel graph represents Ria's journey to the hospital. Ria left at 1300. So therefore, we're going to write this as 1300 right here. She travelled for 30 minutes at a constant speed of 40 miles an hour. So that's going to be 1330 there. So therefore, if 2 squares are 1330, this is going to be 1400, 1430, 1500, 1530, 1600, 1630, 1700, or 5 o'clock. She then stopped for 30 minutes at, so she travelled for 30 minutes at constant speed of 40 miles an hour. So if she's gone 30 minutes at 40 miles an hour, that means you go 14 miles in 1 hour. So if she's been travelling for 30 minutes, so half an hour, that's going to be 20 miles. So here, we know that that is going to be 20 miles. So 1, 2, 3, 4 squares there, 4. Each square is 5 miles. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. She then stopped for a break, so that when it's level, that means that's a break. Ria then drove to the hospital at a constant speed. She was at the hospital, so now we've got to the hospital. She's at the hospital for 30 minutes, so up until 3:30. Then drove at a constant speed of 32 miles an hour. Show that she does not arrive home for 16:30. So she has got 40 miles. So from the hospital, she's 40 miles, and she travels at 32 miles an hour. So 32 miles equals 1 hour. Then we've got to see how long it takes us to do 40 miles. So we've got to try and find something that 32 and 40 go into. And I can see that 8 goes into both of them. So let's see how long it takes to do 8 miles. So I know that 16 miles would take half an hour. So 8 miles would equal a quarter of an hour. So therefore, if she's going to travel 40 miles, that's going to be 1 hour, and it's going to be a quarter of an hour, so that's going to be an hour and a quarter. So 1 hour, 15 minutes. So if she leaves at 3:30, and she's going to be travelling for an hour and a quarter, that's going to be 4:30, 4:45. So join that up and show that she does not arrive home for 16:30. Yeah, absolutely. She arrives home at 16:45. It's taken an hour and 15 minutes. And this working here shows that. Okay, and now the final page. Let's have a look at this. A number y is rounded to 2 significant figures. The result is 0.46. Write down the error interval. Now, on the foundation paper, this is a new question. So the error interval, I want to know what the biggest it could be for 0.4 to get around to 0.46, and the smallest it could be to be around to 0.46. So what I tend to do is stick 0.46 in the middle. So 0.46 goes in the middle. If we're looking at 2 significant figures below and above, that's going to be 0.45 and 0.47. Now the error intervals are going to be halfway. So the error interval is going to be between 0.455 and 0.465. And the way we'd write that then, if it's in between these two here, is that y is going to be between 0.455 and 0.465. However, it can equal 0.455 because that gets rounded up to 0.46. But 0.465 actually goes up to 0.47. So we say that it can't equal it, it's just less than 0.465. Now, the final question is to write 360 as a product of prime factors. Now, in all my students, I say that product of prime factors, this is the Christmas tree thing. So all we do is write 360, and product of prime factors is the Christmas tree thing. So we've got to find two numbers that multiply together to make 360. And if there's a 0 on the end, I usually put a 10. So 10 times 36 is 360. And then what we do is we try and break 10 down. So 10 goes down to 2 times 5, but we can't break 2 down unless it's 1 times 2. So put 2 on, put 5 on. And then we've got to try and break 36 down. So you can do 2 and 18, you can do 6 and 6, do 3 and 12. It's whatever you want to do. So 3 and 12. We can't break 3 down, so we put that in a circle. But we can break 12 down. You see, it starts to look like a Christmas tree. So 2 times 6, you can't break 2 down, but you can break 6 down, which is 2 times 3. Once you've got to this point where you can't break anything down, what we do is we do this times this times this times this times this times this, and that's our answer. And just to make it look nicer, we tend to write them in order. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And that's it. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. If you want, you can write that in index form, which is 2 cubed times 3 squared times 5. And that's it. That's how to get 100% on this paper. Like I say, it's a best prediction of what would come up, but this is only based on the mock exam that Edexcel released earlier this year. So good luck.